When technology billionaire Elon Musk walks into Judge Beatrice Thornwald's courtroom without a lawyer to defend himself in a high-stakes patent battle, she can't help but laugh. After 30 years on the bench, she's seen it all. But never someone so wealthy being so foolish. Little does she know, Musk's fumbling performance is hiding a brilliant legal strategy. As Magnatech's expensive lawyers present their seemingly airtight case, the judge continues to mock Musk's amateur approach. But behind his messy papers and confused demeanor, a trap is being set that will shock everyone in the courtroom, especially the judge who underestimated him. Judge Beatrice Thornwald banged her gavel 3 times. The sound echoed through courtroom 7 of the San Francisco Federal Building. "The court is now in session," she announced, her voice sharp as a knife. "Case number 2025 CV 7842, Magnatech Industries versus Musk Innovations." Judge Thornwald had spent 30 years on the bench. In that time, she'd seen it all. Tech billionaires, movie stars, crooked politicians. None of them scared her. None of them impressed her either. So when Elon Musk walked into her courtroom without a lawyer by his side, she couldn't help the tiny smirk that formed on her lips. Another rich guy who thought rules didn't apply to him. "Mr. Musk," she said, glancing down at her papers, "my records show you're representing yourself today. Is that correct?" Musk stood up. He wore a simple dark suit, no tie. "Yes, Your Honor." A whisper ran through the courtroom. Even the court reporter raised her eyebrows. "Bold choice," Judge Thornwald said. "Well, let's not waste time. Opening statements? Please, Magnatech, you're up first." Dominic Reeves, Magnatech's attorney, approached the bench. He was tall and polished in an expensive suit, with slick gray hair and glasses that probably cost more than most people's cars. "Your Honor," Reeves began, "this case is quite simple. Mr. Musk's company stole our client's revolutionary battery design. We have the patent. We have the proof. By the end of this trial, the facts will speak for themselves." Judge Thornwald nodded. "Thank you, Mr. Reeves. Mr. Musk, your opening statement?" Musk walked to the front of the courtroom. He pulled some wrinkled papers from his pocket and dropped one. As he bent to pick it up, someone in the gallery chuckled. Your Honor," he began, his voice quieter than expected. "I'm here because Magnatech is trying to steal what my team created." He shuffled his papers, losing his place. "The battery design in question uses a, special coating that—" Musk paused, looking confused. "Sorry, I have some diagrams. Somewhere." Judge Thornwald couldn't help herself. A small laugh escaped her lips. "Mr. Musk," she said, "this isn't a rocket launch. In my courtroom, we follow proper legal procedure. Do you have your evidence organized and ready to present?" "I think so, Your Honor," he replied, still shuffling papers. The gallery erupted in laughter. Even the bailiff cracked a smile. Judge Thornwald raised her hand for quiet, but her eyes sparkled with amusement. She'd seen this before. Wealthy people thinking they could wing it in court without proper preparation. From the plaintiff's table, Dominic Reeves shot Musk a look of smug satisfaction. This was going to be easier than he thought. In the gallery, a young woman with short black hair watched with growing concern. Layla Chen, Musk's head engineer, twisted her hands nervously in her lap. This wasn't going as planned. "Perhaps," Judge Thornwald suggested, not unkindly, "you should have hired an attorney, Mr. Musk. Patent law is complicated. It's not something most people can handle without legal training." "I'll manage, Your Honor," Musk replied, finally organizing his papers. "Very well," the judge sighed. "Magnatech, please present your case." As Reeves approached with his team of 3 assistants, wheeling in carefully organized evidence boxes, Judge Thornwald leaned back in her chair. She caught the eye of her clerk and gave a tiny eye roll. The clerk smiled back knowingly. Reeves set up a sleek digital presentation. "Your Honor, if I may?" "Proceed," she nodded. The courtroom lights dimmed, and a crystal-clear slide appeared on the screen. "Magnatech filed this patent on March 15th, Reeves began. "As you can see, the design is revolutionary." Judge Thornwald listened attentively, occasionally glancing at Musk. He was taking notes, his face giving nothing away. Mr. Musk's company began producing an identical design in April. Reeves continued, "The timeline alone proves our case." Throughout the presentation, Musk remained oddly calm. Once, Judge Thornwald caught him staring at a seemingly random point on the courtroom wall. Was he even paying attention? "Mr. Musk," she interrupted, "are you with us?" "Yes, Your Honor," he replied, blinking as if returning from deep thought. "Good. Because I won't have you wasting this court's time if you're not taking these proceedings seriously." Musk's face reddened slightly, but he nodded. As the morning session continued, Judge Thornwald found herself increasingly irritated by Musk's casual approach. When he finally objected to something, his argument was so poorly framed that she had to cut him off. "Mr. Musk, that's not how hearsay works," she explained, with thinly veiled impatience. "Perhaps you could benefit from Legal Procedure 101? The courtroom tittered again. Little did Judge Thornwald know, the eccentric billionaire sitting before her wasn't nearly as unprepared as he seemed. Behind his fumbling exterior and messy papers, Elon Musk was setting a trap that would soon leave everyone in the courtroom, including her, completely stunned. 6 months earlier, the lab hummed with energy. Bright lights reflected off polished metal surfaces as Elon Musk and Layla Chen bent over a workbench. Between them sat a device no bigger than a shoebox. It didn't look special, just a metal case with some wires, but both knew it could change the world. "Run the test again," Musk said, his eyes never leaving the device. Layla tapped on her tablet. The device glowed blue along its edges. "Power output holding at 98% efficiency," she reported, eyes wide. "That's 3 times better than anything on the market." Musk didn't smile. He rarely did when working, but a spark lit his eyes. "If this works at scale, we could power a house for a month on something the size of a brick," he said. "Or a car for 1,000 miles." "We did it," Layla whispered. "We actually did it." That's when Musk's phone buzzed. He glanced at the screen and frowned. "Victor, Hammond is here," he said. Layla's smile faded. "Magnatech's CEO. Why?" "He wants to talk about a partnership." Musk sighed. "Cover this up. I'll meet him in the conference room." "Are you sure that's wise?" Layla asked. "Magnatech has stolen designs before." "Let me worry about that." Musk headed for the door. "Just hide everything important." Victor Hammond was tall and polished, with perfect teeth and a too-firm handshake. "Elon, thanks for seeing me," Hammond boomed. 2 assistants flanked him, tablets in hand. "What can I do for you, Victor?" Musk asked, not bothering with small talk. "I'll get right to it. Magnatech wants to partner with you on energy storage. We have the manufacturing capabilities you lack, and you have the creative spark our engineers sometimes miss." Musk nodded slowly. "Interesting. What did you have in mind?" "A tour today, and then we'll talk details. I'd love to see what you're working on." Hammond smiled like a hungry shark. Musk seemed to consider this. "A quick tour then. But some areas are off limits. ongoing research. Of course. Hammond agreed quickly. As they walked through the facility, Musk noticed Hammond lingering in certain areas, his eyes taking in every detail. Once, Musk could have sworn he saw one of Hammond's assistants snap a quick photo when they thought no one was looking. When they reached the main lab doors, Musk stopped. "This area is restricted." Hammond nodded in understanding, but Musk caught the flash of disappointment in his eyes. "Well, I've seen enough to know we could do great things together," Hammond said, extending his hand. "I'll have my people call your people." After Hammond left, Musk went straight to security. "I want all footage of Hammond's visit," he told the head of security. "Every second." That night, Musk replayed the footage in his office. There it was, Hammond's assistant taking photos when Musk's back was turned. Hammond himself peering through a window into the restricted lab when he thought no one was watching. "I knew it," Musk muttered. 2 months later, Layla burst into Musk's office, face flushed with anger. "Magnatech just filed a patent," she said, slapping a printout on his desk, "for an energy storage device that uses our nano-coating technology. They stole it, Elon. They stole our design." Musk picked up the papers, scanning them calmly. Too calmly. "You don't seem surprised," Layla said, studying his face. "I'm not." Musk leaned back in his chair. "Hammond never called about that partnership. I knew something was up." "We have to fight this," Layla exclaimed. "Call the lawyers." "I already talked to them." Musk stood and walked to the window. "They say it'll be tough to prove. Hammond was careful." "So we just give up?" Layla couldn't believe what she was hearing. "I didn't say that." Musk turned, a strange light in his eyes. "I'm going to handle this myself." Layla's jaw dropped. "You mean personally? In court?" "Yes." "But Elon, you're not a lawyer." "No," he agreed. "I'm not." In the weeks that followed, Musk's behavior grew increasingly odd. He canceled meetings. He disappeared for hours. Once, Layla found him in his office at midnight, surrounded by legal textbooks, scribbling notes in margins. "This is crazy," she said, picking up a book on patent law. "We have a legal team for this." "They'll expect a legal team," Musk replied without looking up. "They won't expect me. That's because this is a terrible idea. Hammond has the best lawyers money can buy." Musk finally looked up, his eyes tired but determined. "Sometimes you have to do things yourself." "Is this about your ego?" Layla asked. "Proving you're smarter than everyone else?" "No." Musk shook his head. "It's about justice." "And strategy?" Layla sighed, unconvinced. "What strategy involves going to court, unprepared against professional attorneys?" Musk smiled for the first time that night. "Who said anything about being unprepared?" He turned his notebook toward her. The pages were filled with precise notes, diagrams, and what looked like a timeline. "I know exactly what I'm doing," he said quietly. "Trust me." But as Layla looked at the determined face of her boss, she couldn't help but worry that this time his famous confidence might be his downfall. What she didn't know was that Elon Musk had more than just notes and diagrams. He had a plan that would shock everyone, especially one very skeptical judge. Back in the courtroom, the first day of trial continued after lunch. Judge Thornwald straightened her black robes and checked her watch. Dominic Reeves had already set up his next visual aid, a large screen showing side-by-side comparisons of both companies' battery designs. "As you can clearly see, Your Honor," Reeves said, pointing with a laser pointer, "the similarities are undeniable. The internal structure, the cooling system, Even the special coating, they're identical. From her elevated bench, Judge Thornwald nodded. Continue, Mr. Reeves. Magnatech spent millions developing this technology, Reeves continued, clicking to the next slide. Years of research led to this breakthrough. Then, just weeks after we filed our patent, Mr. Musk's company suddenly announced an identical product. In the gallery, reporters scribbled notes. This case had drawn media attention from around the world. Tech journalists, business reporters, and curious onlookers packed the rows of seats. We'd like to call our first witness, Reeves announced. Dr. Alan Murphy, Magnatech's head of research and development. A thin man with wire-rimmed glasses took the stand. After being sworn in, he settled nervously in the witness chair. Dr. Murphy, Reeves began, please explain to the court your role in developing this battery technology. I led the team that created the nano-coating, Murphy explained. It's the key innovation that allows for greater energy density and faster charging times. And when did you begin this work? Approximately 18 months ago, Murphy answered confidently. Judge Thornwald watched as Reeves guided his witness through a detailed explanation of the technology. The attorney was skilled, breaking down complex concepts into understandable chunks. The judge found herself impressed by both the lawyer and the technology. Occasionally, she glanced at Musk. He remained oddly calm, taking notes but raising few objections. Once, she caught him staring at a specific ceiling tile, seemingly lost in thought. Mr. Musk, she interrupted sharply, are you with us? Musk blinked and focused on her. Yes, Your Honor, just considering the testimony. Judge Thornwald frowned. Well, consider it more actively, please. This is your case, after all. Few people in the gallery chuckled. Judge Thornwald allowed herself a small smile. She'd dealt with arrogant tech CEOs before, but usually they at least pretended to take court proceedings seriously. The testimony continued with Reeves calling a patent expert who explained the filing process and timeline. Once again, the evidence seemed damning for Musk. As you can see, the expert concluded, Magnatech's filing predates any public mention of similar technology from Mr. Musk's company. Judge Thornwald noticed Musk writing something in his notebook. For a brief moment, she was curious about what strategy, if any, he was developing. Then she dismissed the thought. He was clearly out of his depth. Your Honor, Reeves said, I'd like to present our next piece of evidence. An assistant wheeled in a covered object. With a dramatic flourish, Reeves removed the cloth to reveal a battery prototype. This is the working prototype we developed before filing the patent, Reeves explained, created entirely by Magnatech's team. From her seat in the gallery, Layla Chen stiffened. She leaned forward, studying the device, her eyes narrowing in recognition. Judge Thornwald noticed the young woman's reaction and made a mental note. Something about that prototype had triggered a response. Would you like to examine the device, Your Honor? Reeves offered. Thank you, Mr. Reeves. Judge Thornwald took the prototype, turning it carefully in her hands. Despite her legal background, she had studied engineering in college. Something about the design seemed elegant, efficient, impressive, she admitted, returning the device. Reeves smiled, sensing victory. Now, we'd like to call our final witness of the day, Victor Hammond, CEO of Magnatech. The tall, polished man Musk had met months ago strode confidently to the witness stand. After being sworn in, he sat with perfect posture, exuding confidence. Mr. Hammond, Reeves began, please tell the court about your company's commitment to innovation. Hammond launched into a well-rehearsed speech about Magnatech's history of breakthroughs. Judge Thornwald listened attentively, occasionally glancing at Musk to gauge his reaction. To her surprise, Musk was now fully engaged, watching Hammond with intense focus. There was something almost predatory in his gaze. For the first time, Judge Thornwald felt a flicker of doubt. Was there more to Musk's strategy than she'd assumed? Did you have any contact with Mr. Musk or his company prior to developing this technology? Reeves asked Hammond. Minimal, Hammond replied smoothly. We had one brief meeting about potential collaboration, but nothing came of it. Judge Thornwald noticed a ghost of a smile cross Musk's face. When Hammond finished his testimony, Reeves approached the bench. Your Honor, Mr. Musk now has the opportunity to cross-examine our witness. Judge Thornwald turned to Musk. Mr. Musk, would you like to question Mr. Hammond? Musk stood slowly. Not at this time, Your Honor. I'll reserve my questions for later. Hammond looked surprised, then relieved. He stepped down from the witness stand, shooting a triumphant glance at Musk as he returned to his seat. Very well, Judge Thornwald said, unable to hide her disappointment. She had expected at least some attempt at a defense. Mr. Reeves, please continue. Your Honor, Reeves said with confidence, we've presented clear evidence that Magnatech developed and patented this technology first. Mr. Musk's company clearly copied our client's innovative design. The evidence speaks for itself. Judge Thornwald nodded, finding herself agreeing with Reeves's assessment. The case seemed straightforward. Mr. Musk, she said, turning to the billionaire, you'll have your chance to present your defense tomorrow. I suggest you prepare more thoroughly than you have today. Musk looked up from his notebook. I appreciate your concern, Your Honor. Something in his tone made Judge Thornwald pause. There was a confidence there that didn't match his apparently weak position. As she prepared to adjourn for the day, she noticed Musk staring at that same spot on the wall again. Mr. Musk, are you even paying attention? She asked sharply. Musk turned to her with clear eyes. Always, Your Honor. More than you might think. For some reason she couldn't explain, Judge Thornwald felt a chill run down her spine. Perhaps there was more to Elon Musk than met the eye. But what could he possibly have planned that would counter the mountain of evidence against him? Court is adjourned until 9 o'clock tomorrow morning, Judge Thornwald announced, banging her gavel. As people filed out of the courtroom, Musk gathered his messy stack of papers. Dominic Reeves walked past, barely hiding his smug smile. Better? Luck tomorrow, Musk, he said quietly. Though I doubt luck will be enough. Musk simply nodded. See you tomorrow, Reeves. In the hallway outside, reporters swarmed around both men. Mr. Musk, will you hire an attorney now? One shouted. Mr. Reeves, is this case as clear-cut as it seems? Called another. Musk pushed through the crowd without answering. Layla caught up to him at the courthouse steps. That was brutal, she said. Hammond lied under oath about your meeting, I noticed. Musk replied calmly. And that prototype, that was our design. They just changed the outer casing. I know, Layla grabbed, his arm stopping him. Elon, you need to do something. They're destroying us in there. Musk glanced back at the courthouse, his face unreadable. I'm about to. 20 minutes later, they sat in a rented office across from the courthouse. Musk had converted it into a temporary workspace with computers, whiteboards, and boxes of files. What are we doing here? Layla asked, watching Musk boot up a laptop. Preparing, he answered. I need you to access our building security logs from the day Hammond visited. The security logs? Why? Just trust me. While Layla worked, Musk made a phone call. It's me, he said to the person on the other end. Are you ready for tomorrow? He listened for a moment. Good. Remember, Timing is everything. Layla looked up from her computer. I have the logs. What now? Find all footage of Hammond and his team. I want every second they were in our building. For hours, they combed through security videos. Layla gasped when she spotted what Musk was looking for. There, she pointed at the screen. Hammond's assistant taking photos in the restricted area. Musk nodded. And here, he said, forwarding to another clip, Hammond himself looking through the lab window after I told him that area was off limits. This proves they were spying, Layla said excitedly. But is it enough to win the case? Not by itself, Musk admitted. We need more. He pulled out his phone and sent a text. Within minutes, it buzzed with a response. Musk smiled as he read it. What? Layla asked. Let's just say I've been working on this case longer than Hammond realizes. As midnight approached, Musk was still preparing. He had assembled what looked like a small electronic device on the desk. What's that? Layla asked, yawning. A demonstration, Musk replied. For tomorrow. Shouldn't you be working on your legal arguments instead? Musk looked up, a glint in his eye. Sometimes the best legal argument isn't a legal argument at all. Morning came too quickly. Back in the courtroom, Judge Thornwald called the session to order. Mr. Musk, are you ready to present your defense? She asked, expecting the same fumbling performance as yesterday. Musk stood. Actually, Your Honor, I'd like to request a one-day recess. Surprised murmurs rippled through the courtroom. Judge Thornwald frowned. A recess? On what grounds? I need to reconsider my approach, Musk said, sounding defeated. Given the strong case against me. More whispers. Reeves couldn't hide his triumphant smile. Judge Thornwald studied Musk's face. Was he finally admitting defeat? Or was this part of some strategy she couldn't see? Your Honor, Reeves interrupted. We object to this delay. Mr. Musk had ample time to prepare his defense. I understand, Musk said quickly. But after yesterday's testimony, I realize I may need professional assistance. Laughter rippled through the gallery. Judge Thornwald allowed herself a small smile. So he was finally admitting he needed a lawyer. While I'm tempted to deny your request, Mr. Musk, she said, I'll grant a one-day recess, but don't waste our time tomorrow. Thank you, Your Honor, Musk said, bowing his head slightly. As the courtroom emptied, Reeves approached Musk. Finally realized you're out of your depth? He asked. Something like that, Musk replied. Back at their temporary office, Layla paced anxiously. I don't understand. Why did you ask for a delay when we spent all night preparing? Because, Musk explained, typing rapidly on his laptop. I want them overconfident. Hammond thinks I'm giving up. But what are we actually doing today? Layla demanded. Two things, Musk said, not looking up. First, we're finishing this. He pointed to the electronic device they'd worked on last night. And second? Musk finally looked up, his expression serious. We're meeting someone important. Later that afternoon, a woman arrived at their office. She was in her early 40s, with dark hair pulled back in a tight bun. She looked nervous. Ms. Nair, Musk greeted her. Thank you for coming. I'm risking my career being here, the woman said quietly. I know, Musk replied. But it's the right thing to do. Layla looked confused. Who is she? Priya Nair, Musk explained. Until last week, she was Magnatech's head of research and development. Layla's eyes widened. Wait, not Dr. Murphy? Murphy was promoted after I left, Priya explained. I couldn't stay after what Hammond asked us to do. For the next hour, Musk and Priya talked quietly. while Layla finished their electronic demonstration. As evening fell, Musk seemed more confident than ever. "Are you sure about this?" Layla asked as they packed up. "It's unorthodox, even for you." Musk smiled, his eyes reflecting the glow of his computer screen. "Sometimes innovation isn't just about technology." "That's not an answer," Layla sighed. "Trust me," Musk said, closing his laptop. "By this time tomorrow, Judge Thornwald won't be laughing anymore." That night, while Hammond and Reeves celebrated their seemingly inevitable victory with expensive whiskey, Elon Musk made one final preparation for the next day's court session: a simple cardboard box that would change everything. Morning arrived with a buzz of excitement around the courthouse. News of Musk's requested recess had spread, with many speculating he was preparing to surrender. Reporters crowded the steps, cameras ready. "Mr. Musk, have you hired an attorney? Will you settle with Magnatech? Are you giving up the case?" Musk walked through them without answering, the cardboard box tucked under his arm. Layla followed close behind, her face a mask of calm that hid her nervousness. Inside, the courtroom was packed. Victor Hammond sat confidently at the plaintiff's table, whispering with Reeves. They both looked up when Musk entered, eyeing the box with curiosity. "What's he up to now?" Hammond muttered. "Probably his surrender terms," Reeves replied with a smirk. Judge Thornwald entered, and everyone stood. As she took her seat, she noticed Musk looked different today. Gone was the fumbling, distracted demeanor. Instead, he stood straight, his eyes clear and focused. "Court is now in session," she announced. "Mr. Musk, yesterday you requested time to reconsider your approach. Have you decided to seek legal counsel?" "No, Your Honor," Musk replied, his voice stronger than before. "I'll continue representing myself." Judge Thornwald sighed dramatically. "Very well. Are you ready to present your defense?" "I am, Your Honor. But first, I'd like to call a surprise witness." A murmur swept through the courtroom. Reeves jumped to his feet. "Objection! We received no notice of additional witnesses." Judge Thornwald frowned. "Mr. Musk, this isn't a TV drama. That's not how real court proceedings work." "I understand, Your Honor," Musk replied calmly, "but these are special circumstances. My witness only came forward yesterday after seeing Magnatech's testimony." Judge Thornwald studied Musk's face. There was something different about him today, a quiet confidence she hadn't seen before. "This better be good," she warned. "Who is this witness?" "Priya Nair, former head of research and development at Magnatech." The name sent a visible shock through the Magnatech team. Hammond's face paled. Reeves stood again, his composure slipping. "Objection! Ms. Nair is bound by a confidentiality agreement with Magnatech. She cannot testify about company matters." "That's not entirely accurate," Musk countered. "Ms. Nair's agreement has exceptions for illegal activity, which is precisely what she wishes to address." The room fell silent. Judge Thornwald leaned forward, her interest piqued despite herself. "Mr. Reeves, your objection is noted, but overruled. I'll allow the witness." She turned to Musk. "This better be relevant, Mr. Musk." "It is, Your Honor." "Thank you." A court officer opened the door, and Priya Nair entered. She looked nervous, but determined as she took the oath and settled into the witness stand. "Ms. Nair," Musk began, "until recently, what was your position at Magnatech?" "I was head of research and development for 8 years," she replied, her voice steady despite her obvious tension. "And why did you leave?" Priya took a deep breath. "I resigned last week due to ethical concerns about the battery technology at issue in this case." Another murmur swept through the courtroom. Hammond was now whispering urgently to Reeves. Could you elaborate on those concerns? Musk asked. The technology wasn't developed by Magnatech, Priya stated clearly. We were ordered to reverse engineer Mr. Musk's prototype after Mr. Hammond visited his facility. The courtroom erupted. Judge Thornwald banged her gavel repeatedly. Order! Order in the court! When quiet returned, Reeves was on his feet again, his face flushed with anger. Your Honor, these are baseless accusations. Where is the proof? An excellent question, Judge Thornwald agreed, turning to Musk. Do you have evidence to support this testimony? I do, Your Honor. Musk finally opened his mysterious cardboard box. From it, he removed a laptop and a small device. Ms. Nair, he continued, did Mr. Hammond specifically instruct your team to copy my design? Yes, she answered firmly. After his visit to your facility, he called an emergency meeting. He showed us photos his assistant had taken and told us to recreate the technology as quickly as possible. Hammond's face had gone from pale to red. He scribbled something and pushed it toward Reeves. And what about Dr. Murphy, who testified yesterday? Musk asked. Alan was promoted to my position after I questioned the ethics of what we were doing, Priya explained. He was willing to go along with Hammond's plan. Reeves stood again. Your Honor, this is hearsay and speculation. Is it? Musk asked calmly. He connected his laptop to the courtroom's display system. With the court's permission, I'd like to show some evidence. Judge Thornwald nodded, now fully engaged. Proceed, Mr. Musk. The screen lit up with security footage from Musk's facility. It clearly showed Hammond's assistant taking photos in restricted areas, and Hammond himself peering through windows he'd been told were off-limits. This proves nothing, Reeves argued. Looking isn't stealing. Perhaps not, Musk agreed. But this might be more convincing. He clicked to the next file, emails between Hammond and Priya, discussing how to repurpose Musk's design. Reeves stared at the screen in shock. Where did you get those? Ms. Nair provided them, Musk explained, along with these. The next images showed side-by-side comparisons of internal components, Musk's original designs and Magnatech's copies. They were identical. Judge Thornwald's expression had transformed completely. The skepticism was gone, replaced by growing shock as the evidence mounted. Your Honor, Musk said, there's more. Ms. Nair has provided internal memos showing that Magnatech had no similar technology in development before Hammond's visit to my facility. Their entire claim is fraudulent. Hammond could no longer contain himself. This is a setup, he shouted, rising from his chair. You can't believe this. Mr. Hammond, Judge Thornwald warned, control yourself or I'll have you removed. The atmosphere in the courtroom had shifted dramatically. Now it was Reeves who looked flustered and unprepared, while Musk appeared calm and in control. Judge, Thornwald turned to Priya. Ms. Nair, you understand the seriousness of your testimony? You're accusing Magnatech of corporate espionage and fraud. I do, Your Honor, Priya replied. That's why I resigned. I couldn't be part of it anymore. As the morning session continued, Judge Thornwald found herself watching Musk with new eyes. The bumbling, distracted man from yesterday was gone. In his place stood someone precise and methodical, who had apparently planned this moment from the beginning. Had it all been an act? Had he deliberately appeared unprepared to lull Magnatech into overconfidence? Whatever the truth, one thing was certain. Judge Beatrice Thornwald was no longer laughing at Elon Musk. Ms. Nair, Musk continued, could you tell the court exactly what happened after Mr. Hammond returned from his visit to my facility? Priya Nair sat straight in the witness chair, her hands folded in her lap. She'd been Magnatech's star scientist for almost a decade. Now she was their worst nightmare. Mr. Hammond called an emergency meeting that same afternoon, she began. He was extremely excited. He showed us photos his assistant had taken secretly during the tour and said he'd seen a gold mine of ideas. In the plaintiff's section, Hammond's face darkened. He scribbled a note and slid it to Reeves, who shook his head slightly. "Did he specifically mention my energy storage technology?" Musk asked. "Yes, he was particularly interested in the nano coating. He said it was the key to making batteries hold more power for longer periods." "And what did he ask your team to do?" "He told us to drop everything else and focus on recreating what he'd seen. His exact words were, 'I want this technology before Musk can patent it.'" A murmur swept through the courtroom. Judge Thornwald leaned forward, completely absorbed in the testimony. This was not at all what she had expected when the day began. "Did you raise any concerns about this directive?" Musk continued. Priya nodded. "I told Mr. Hammond that what he was suggesting sounded like corporate espionage. I suggested we pursue a legitimate partnership instead." "And how did he respond?" "He said, and I quote, 'Why pay for what we can take for free?'" Another ripple of reaction spread through the gallery. Hammond was now red-faced with anger. "That's a lie," he shouted, unable to contain himself. "She's making this up." "Mr. Hammond," Judge Thornwald warned sharply. "One more outburst and I'll have you removed from my courtroom." Musk remained calm, seemingly unaffected by the drama. "Ms. Nair, do you have any evidence to support your testimony?" "Yes," she replied. "I kept notes from all our meetings. I also saved emails and text messages where these directives were given." "Your Honor," Musk addressed the judge, "I'd like to enter these documents into evidence." He handed a folder to the court clerk, who passed it to Judge Thornwald. She opened it and began reviewing the contents, her expression growing more serious with each page. Reeves finally recovered enough to stand. "Your Honor, these documents should be inadmissible. They contain proprietary Magnatech information that Ms. Nair had no right to remove from the company." "Actually," Musk countered, "according to Magnatech's own employment contract, which I've included in that folder, employees are both protected and obligated to report potential illegal activities. Ms. Nair was acting within her rights." Judge Thornwald nodded. "I'm inclined to agree with Mr. Musk on this point. The documents are admitted." Reeves sat down heavily, looking stunned. Hammond was now whispering urgently to one of his assistants, who quickly left the courtroom. "Sadizit, Nair," Musk continued, "what happened after you expressed these concerns?" "I was gradually sidelined. Tasks were reassigned. Then, 2 weeks ago, Alan Murphy was promoted to my position, and I was transferred to a different department. Did that surprise you?" "No. I'd already started looking for another job because I couldn't ethically continue at Magnatech. When they transferred me, I resigned immediately." "One final question," Musk said. "Did Magnatech have any similar energy storage technology in development before Hammond's visit to my facility?" "No," Priya stated firmly. "We were working on completely different approaches. Our research was at least 2 years away from anything close to your design." "Thank you, Ms. Nair." Musk turned to the judge. "Your Honor, I'd like to present one more piece of evidence before Mr. Reeves cross-examines the witness." Judge Thornwald nodded. "Proceed." Musk placed his small electronic device on the evidence table. "This is a demonstration unit I created to illustrate how Magnatech's supposedly original design is actually a copy of mine." He activated the device, which projected a holographic display showing both designs layer by layer. As each component appeared, the identical nature of the technologies became impossible to deny. As you can see, Musk explained, even the internal arrangement of components is identical. The chances of two teams independently creating such similar designs are essentially zero. The courtroom had fallen completely silent. The evidence was overwhelming. "Your Honor," Reeves said, finally rising again, "we request a brief recess to consult with our client." Judge Thornwald checked her watch. "We'll break for lunch. Court will reconvene at 1 o'clock. As the gallery emptied, Layla rushed to Musk's side. "That was amazing," she whispered. "Did you see Hammond's face?" Musk nodded slightly, keeping his expression neutral. "We're not done yet." In the hallway, reporters swarmed around both parties. Reeves pushed through without comment, Hammond close. Behind him, with a security guard blocking cameras. "Mr. Musk," a reporter called out. "Was your confused performance yesterday an act?" Musk merely smiled. No comment. In a private conference room, Reeves faced Hammond across the table. "This is bad, Victor. Really bad." "She's lying," Hammond insisted, pacing the room. "It's her word against mine. It's her word plus emails, texts, and documents against yours," Reeves corrected him. "Not to mention the visual evidence of the copied technology. We need to settle this. Now." "No, I won't give him the satisfaction." "You might not have a choice," Reeves warned. "If this continues, we're looking at more than losing a patent case. This could become a criminal matter." Hammond stopped pacing. "What are you saying?" "I'm saying corporate espionage is a crime. So is perjury, which you committed yesterday when you downplayed your meeting with Musk." Hammond's face paled. "You're my lawyer. Fix this." "I'm trying to," Reeves replied grimly. "But you need to accept reality. Musk outplayed us." Meanwhile, in another conference room, Judge Thornwald sat alone, reviewing the morning's evidence. 30 years on the bench had taught her to spot liars, and Priya Nair was telling the truth. The emails and documents corroborated her testimony perfectly. The judge found herself reassessing Elon Musk. She'd dismissed him as an arrogant amateur, but now she wondered if she'd been the amateur all along. His strategy, appearing unprepared while gathering devastating evidence, was brilliant. When court reconvened, the tension was palpable. Reeves approached Musk before the judge arrived. "My client is willing to discuss settlement terms," he said quietly. "I'm not interested in settling," Musk replied. "Don't be stubborn. We can make this go away quietly. That's not why I'm here." Before Reeves could respond, Judge Thornwald entered, and everyone stood. "Before we continue," she announced, "I want to clarify something. Ms. Nair, your testimony suggests not just patent infringement, but potentially criminal activity. Do you understand the seriousness of these allegations?" "I do, Your Honor," Priya replied. "That's why I resigned my position and came forward. It was the right thing to do." Judge Thornwald nodded. "Mr. Reeves, you may cross-examine the witness." Reeves approached the stand, his earlier confidence gone. "Ms. Nair, isn't it true that you were passed over for promotion several times at Magnatech?" "No," she replied calmly. "I was offered promotions twice and declined them to stay in research." "And you're not bitter about Mr. Murphy's promotion?" "I was relieved. It meant I was no longer responsible for a project I believed was unethical." Reeves tried several more angles, but Priya remained unshaken. Her testimony was clear, consistent, and damning. When Reeves finally sat down, Judge Thornwald turned to Musk. "Do you have any more witnesses, Mr. Musk?" "No, Your Honor. Ms. Nair's testimony and the evidence I've presented speak for themselves." Judge Thornwald nodded thoughtfully. "They certainly do. As the afternoon session continued, one thing became abundantly clear to everyone in the courtroom. Elon Musk hadn't just prepared for this case, he had orchestrated every moment of it, and he was far from finished. "Your Honor," Musk said, rising from his seat, "I'd now like to address the legal remedy I'm seeking." Judge Thornwald nodded. "Proceed, Mr. Musk." Musk walked to the center of the courtroom, no longer the fumbling figure from the first day. He moved with purpose, his voice clear and confident. "Based on the evidence presented, I'm not just asking for Magnatech's patent to be invalidated. I'm requesting a specific legal remedy outlined in the Technological Innovation Protection Act of 2018. A puzzled look crossed Reeves's face. Judge Aupuy-Choose, Thornwald also appeared curious. Section 47B of that act, Musk continued, states that in cases where corporate espionage is proven, the court may issue an order preventing the offending party from developing similar technology for up to 5 years. The courtroom fell silent. Even Judge Thornwald appeared taken aback. "Mr. Musk," she said, leaning forward, "I'm familiar with technology patent law, but I don't recall that specific provision." "It's relatively obscure, Your Honor," Musk acknowledged. "It was added as an amendment during the bill's final passage. Few cases have invoked it." He handed a document to the court clerk, who passed it to the judge. She studied it carefully, her eyebrows rising slightly. "He's right," she murmured, almost to herself. Reeves jumped to his feet. "Your Honor, this is preposterous. Such a remedy would effectively lock Magnatech out of an entire market segment." "That's precisely the point," Musk responded calmly. "The law was designed to create serious consequences for corporate espionage. Otherwise, companies would simply treat legal penalties as a cost of doing business." Judge Thornwald was now nodding slightly as she read through the statute. "The language is quite clear," she admitted. "In cases of proven corporate espionage related to technological innovation, the court may issue a development prohibition order," Hammond whispered urgently to Reeves, who looked increasingly distressed. "Your Honor," Reeves said, "we need time to review this statute and prepare a response." "That seems reasonable," Judge Thornwald agreed. "We'll adjourn for today and reconvene tomorrow morning." She turned to Musk. "I must say, Mr. Musk, I'm impressed by your knowledge of patent law." "Thank you, Your Honor," Musk replied with a small smile. "I've been studying." As the courtroom began to empty, Reeves approached Musk again, his manner now almost pleading. "Be reasonable, Musk. A 5-year ban would devastate Magnatech's energy division." "You should have thought of that before stealing my technology," Musk replied simply. In the gallery, Layla watched the exchange with wide eyes. When Musk joined her, she couldn't contain her amazement. "How did you find that law?" she whispered as they left the courtroom. "I've never heard of it." "Because most lawyers haven't either," Musk explained. "I spent weeks researching obscure patent statutes. When I found this one, I knew it was perfect." Outside the courthouse, reporters once again swarmed around them. "Mr. Musk, is it true you're asking for Magnatech to be banned from the energy storage market? Was your confused act just a strategy to catch them off guard?" "No comment," Musk repeated, pushing through the crowd. Back at their temporary office, Layla's excitement bubbled over. "You were amazing in there. Hammond looked like he was going to pass out when you mentioned that law." Musk allowed himself a small smile. "The case isn't over yet." "But it's going our way now," Layla insisted. "Judge Thornwald is totally on your side." "She's doing her job," Musk corrected. "Judges don't take sides. They follow the law." "Which you happen to know better than Magnatech's expensive lawyers," Layla laughed. Musk's phone buzzed with a text. "Message. He read it, and his expression turned serious. "What is it?" Layla asked. "Hammond's people have been calling Priya Nair," Musk said, "threatening her. That's witness intimidation. We should tell the judge." "We will," Musk assured her. "Tomorrow." Meanwhile, at Magnatech's legal offices, Hammond was raging at his legal team. "How could you not know about this law?" he demanded, pacing the conference room. "I pay you millions for exactly this kind of information." Reeves remained calm despite the attack. "It's an obscure provision that's rarely invoked. The question now is how to respond." "We fight it, obviously," Hammond snapped. "I'm not sure that's wise," Reeves cautioned. "The evidence against us is substantial." "So you're giving up?" "I'm being realistic. Musk has outmaneuvered us at every turn. First, he acted incompetent to lower our guard. Then he produced a star witness we never anticipated. Now he's found a legal angle that could cripple our business." Hammond collapsed into a chair, the reality of their situation finally sinking in. "What are our options?" "We could settle," Reeves suggested. "Offer Musk a substantial payment and a formal apology." "Never," Hammond spat. "I won't give him the satisfaction." "Then our only option is to attack the witness," Reeves said grimly. "Discredit Priya Nair. Suggest she stole the documents for personal gain. Imply she's working with Musk." "Will that work?" Reeves sighed. "Probably not. But it's all we have left." The next morning, the courtroom was even more crowded than before. News of the unusual legal maneuver had spread overnight, and technology reporters from around the world packed the gallery. Judge Thornwald called the court to order. "Before we continue, I've reviewed the statute Mr. Musk cited yesterday. It is indeed applicable to this case, provided the evidence of corporate espionage meets the legal standard." She turned to Reeves. "Counsel, do you wish to respond to Mr. Musk's request for a development prohibition order?" Reeves stood. "Yes, Your Honor. We challenge the credibility of Ms. Nair's testimony and the authenticity of the documents she provided." "On what grounds?" "We believe Ms. Nair may have altered these documents after leaving Magnatech, possibly in collaboration with Mr. Musk." Judge Thornwald frowned. "That's a serious allegation. Do you have evidence to support it?" "We're prepared to present technical analysis suggesting the documents were modified recently," Reeves claimed. Musk rose calmly. "Your Honor, I anticipated this attack on Ms. Nair's character. That's why I took the precaution of having the original electronic documents verified by an independent forensic expert." He handed another file to the court clerk. "This report confirms the documents are genuine and unaltered. Additionally, I must inform the court that Ms. Nair has received threatening phone calls from Magnatech representatives since her testimony yesterday." Judge Thornwald's expression darkened. "Is that so? Mr. Reeves, does your client know that witness intimidation is a serious offense?" Reeves paled. "Your Honor, if such calls were made, they were not authorized by Magnatech's management or legal team." Judge Thornwald was clearly not convinced. As the morning proceeded, she watched Musk with growing admiration. The man who had stumbled through opening statements 2 days ago was now articulating complex legal arguments with remarkable precision. She found herself nodding along with his reasoning, impressed despite herself. And she wasn't the only one. Even some of Magnatech's junior attorneys were watching him with undisguised respect. In the gallery, Victor Hammond loosened his collar nervously. The confident CEO who had expected an easy victory was now facing a legal disaster of his own making. "Your Honor," Reeves said, making one last attempt to salvage their case, "we request permission to present a technical expert who will testify that Magnatech's design, while similar to Mr. Musk's, contains significant differences." Judge Thornwald considered this. I'll allow it. Call your witness. A tall man with a neat beard and glasses approached the stand. After being sworn in, he introduced himself as Dr. Marcus Whitfield, Chief Technical Officer at Cambridge Energy Systems. Dr. Whitfield, Reeves began, "You've examined both companies' battery designs. In your expert opinion, could Magnatech have developed their technology independently?" "Yes," Dr. Whitfield replied confidently. "While there are similarities in the overall approach, I noted several distinct engineering choices in Magnatech's implementation." "Could you elaborate?" Reeves asked, looking relieved. "Certainly. The cooling system configuration, for instance, uses a different arrangement of channels, and the casing material contains proprietary compounds not present in Mr. Musk's design." Judge Thornwald listened carefully, her earlier bias now replaced with careful neutrality. She took detailed notes as Dr. Whitfield presented diagrams highlighting the differences. "So, in your professional opinion," Reeves concluded, "these designs could have been developed independently?" "It's certainly possible," Dr. Whitfield agreed. "Similar problems often lead to similar solutions in engineering." "Thank you, Doctor." Reeves turned to Musk. "Your witness." The courtroom tensed as Musk approached the stand. Instead of attacking Dr. Whitfield directly, Musk smiled politely. "Dr. Whitfield, what's the primary innovation that makes both these battery designs so efficient?" "The nanocoating on the electrode surfaces," the expert replied without hesitation. "And this coating is applied in several distinct layers, correct?" "Yes, that's right," Musk nodded. "Could you describe the specific sequence of these layers?" Tweety, Whitfield looked slightly uncomfortable. "Well, both designs use a graphene base layer, followed by a titanium composite, then a proprietary ceramic material." "Identical proprietary materials?" Musk asked innocently. "Well, yes. Surprisingly, similar. And what are the odds of two companies independently developing identical proprietary materials in identical layering sequences?" Dr. Whitfield shifted in his seat. "It would be highly unlikely." Musk continued this approach, asking seemingly innocent technical questions that gradually led Dr. Whitfield into contradicting his own testimony. With each answer, the expert looked increasingly trapped. "Let me be direct, Doctor," Musk finally said. "The cooling system and casing differences you mentioned, aren't those merely cosmetic changes that don't affect the core technology?" After a long pause, Dr. Whitfield sighed. "Yes, the fundamental innovation, the nanocoating, is essentially identical in both designs." From the plaintiff's table, Hammond stared daggers at their expert witness. "No further questions," Musk said, returning to his seat. After Dr. Whitfield stepped down, Reeves approached the bench. "Your Honor, we would like to call Mr. Hammond to testify directly." Judge Thornwald nodded. "Proceed." Hammond took the stand, straightening his expensive tie. After being sworn in, he projected confidence despite his earlier nervousness. "Mr. Hammond," Reeves began, "did you instruct your team to copy Mr. Musk's technology?" "Absolutely not," Hammond stated firmly. "I visited his facility as a potential partner. When that didn't work out, I directed our existing research team to continue their work on energy storage solutions." "And was Magnatech already developing similar technology?" "Yes, we had been researching advanced battery designs for years. The timing of our breakthrough shortly after my visit to Musk Innovations was coincidental." Reeves nodded. "Ms. Nair claims you showed photos from your visit and specifically ordered the team to copy Mr. Musk's design. How do you respond?" "That's completely false," Hammond declared. "Ms. Nair was a disgruntled employee who became increasingly difficult after being passed over for promotion. These accusations are her way of retaliating." Judge Thornwald watched Hammond carefully, noting his confident delivery. He was a polished witness, well prepared by his legal team. "No further questions," Reeves said, sitting down. The courtroom fell silent as Musk stood for cross-examination. He approached Hammond slowly, calmly. "Mr. Hammond, you testified that Magnatech was already developing similar technology before your visit to my facility. Is that correct?" "Yes," Hammond replied firmly. "Could you explain the basic principles of your pre-existing research?" Hammond hesitated slightly. "We were exploring various nano-coatings for battery electrodes. Could you be more specific about the composition of these coatings?" "I'm not a technical person," Hammond evaded. "I rely on my research team for those details." "Yet you're the CEO who signed off on the patent application," Musk noted. "Surely you understood what you were patenting?" Hammond's confidence began to crack. "In general terms, yes." Musk changed direction suddenly. "During your visit to my facility, did you take any photos?" "No." "Did anyone in your team take photos?" "Not to my knowledge." Musk nodded thoughtfully. "I see." He walked to his table and picked up a folder. "Your Honor, I'd like to enter this security footage as evidence." He played a clip clearly showing Hammond's assistant photographing restricted areas. "Perhaps your memory needs refreshing," Musk suggested mildly. Hammond's face flushed. "I wasn't aware my assistant was taking photos." "Really?" "Because in this next clip, you can be seen looking directly at her while she does it." "The courtroom," murmured as the damning footage played. Musk continued methodically, asking questions that gradually boxed Hammond into a corner. With each answer, the CEO contradicted either his previous testimony or the documented evidence. Finally, Musk delivered his masterstroke. "Mr. Hammond, are you familiar with this notebook?" He held up a small leather-bound journal. Hammond's eyes widened in recognition. "Where did you get that?" "Ms. Nair provided it." "It's your personal notebook, isn't it?" "Yes, but it was stolen from my office." "Actually," Musk corrected, "Ms. Nair was asked to clean out your office after a water leak. This was among the items she was instructed to salvage." Musk opened the notebook to a marked page. "Would you please read this entry dated the day after your visit to my facility?" Hammond remained silent. "If you prefer, I can read it," Musk offered. He turned to the judge. "Your Honor, may I?" Judge Thornwald nodded, completely engrossed. "Saw Musk's new battery tech today." Musk read aloud, "Revolutionary nano-coating. Need to fast-track our version before he patents it. Assign Priya's team to reverse engineer ASAP." The courtroom erupted in excited whispers. Hammond's face had gone pale. "No further questions," Musk said quietly. The courtroom remained silent as Hammond returned to his seat, his shoulders slumped in defeat. Judge Thornwald checked her watch. "We'll take a 15-minute recess," she announced. "When we return, I'd like to see both parties in my chambers." As people filed out, reporters rushed to file updates. The story had exploded overnight, with technology news sites running live blogs of the proceedings. "Musk's legal genius stuns court," read one headline already circulating on phones around the room. In the hallway, Reeves cornered Hammond. "This is a disaster," he hissed. "We need to settle immediately." "It's too late for that," Hammond muttered, loosening his tie further. "He's going for blood." Inside her chambers, Judge Thornwald sat behind her desk, removing her glasses and rubbing the bridge of her nose. 30 years on the bench, and she'd rarely seen such a complete reversal in a case. When both parties entered, she gestured to the chairs in front of her desk. "Please, sit." Musk and Reeves sat down. Hammond remained standing, too agitated to settle. "I've called you here because this case has taken an extraordinary turn," Judge Thornwald began. "Mr. Reeves, given the evidence presented, I strongly suggest your client considers settlement options." Reeves nodded grimly. "We're prepared to discuss terms, Your Honor." "I'm not," Hammond cut in. "This isn't over yet." Judge Thornwald fixed him with a stern gaze. "Mr. Hammond, you should understand your position. The evidence against you is overwhelming. If I rule against Magnatech, which seems increasingly likely, you face not only the loss of the patent but a 5-year ban from the market. Additionally, this could trigger criminal investigations." Hammond paled, but remained defiant. "There are appeals courts." "Yes," the judge agreed, "and they generally defer to the trial court's findings of fact. The facts here are quite damning." She turned to Musk. "Mr. Musk, would you be open to settlement discussions?" Musk considered this for a moment. "I came here for justice, not money. The 5-year development ban is non-negotiable." Hammond huffed in frustration. "That's unreasonable." "What's unreasonable," Musk replied calmly, "is stealing someone else's work and then suing them for it." Judge Thornwald leaned back in her chair, studying Musk with newfound respect. Then she did something unexpected. "Mr. Musk," she said, her tone softening slightly, "I owe you an apology." Everyone in the room looked surprised, Musk included. "I made assumptions about you when this trial began," she continued. "I thought you were arrogant and unprepared. I was wrong, and my behavior was unprofessional. You've presented your case more thoroughly than most lawyers I've seen." Musk nodded in acceptance of her apology. "Thank you, Your Honor." The judge hesitated, then added, "I feel I should explain something." She glanced at Hammond and Reeves. "Would you gentlemen excuse us for a moment?" After they left, Judge Thornwald rose and walked to her window, looking out at the city skyline. "4 years ago, my son worked for Solar Tech Industries," she said quietly. "When your company acquired them, he lost his job in the restructuring. He struggled for months afterward." Musk's eyes widened in recognition. "I remember that acquisition. We had to eliminate redundant positions." "I know," she acknowledged. "It was a business decision, nothing personal. But as a mother..." She shook her head. "I allowed it to color my initial impression of you. That was wrong of me." "I understand," Musk said. "Business decisions affect real people. I try to remember that." Judge Thornwald turned back to him. "Your legal strategy was brilliant. The way you appeared unprepared to lower their guard. I've never seen anything like it." "Sometimes innovative thinking applies outside of technology," Musk replied with a small smile. A knock at the door interrupted them. The clerk poked her head in. "Judge, Mr. Hammond is asking to speak with Mr. Musk privately." Judge Thornwald raised an eyebrow. "That's unusual." "I'll hear what he has to say," Musk agreed. When Hammond entered alone, his demeanor had changed. Completely. Gone was the arrogant CEO. Now he looked like a desperate man. "Musk," he said without preamble, "name your price. Whatever you want. Just drop the 5-year ban." "It's not about money," Musk replied. "Everyone has a price," Hammond insisted. 10 million? 20? "The ban stands," Musk said firmly. "Your company tried to steal years of my team's work. There are consequences for that." Hammond's face darkened. "You're enjoying this, aren't you? Watching me squirm?" "No," Musk replied honestly. "I'd have preferred a fair competition where we both innovated on our own merits." Judge Thornwald watched this exchange with interest. These were two powerful men, but only one had maintained his integrity. "Gentlemen," she finally said, "I think we've said all that needs saying here. let's return to the courtroom and conclude this matter properly." As they filed out, Hammond made one last desperate plea. "Musk, be reasonable!" But Musk had already moved on, his mind clearly focused on the future beyond this case. He had what he wanted: justice and protection for his company's innovations. Back in the courtroom, the gallery fell silent as they returned. Layla caught Musk's eye from her seat, raising her eyebrows in question. He gave her a small nod, and she smiled in relief. "Based on the evidence presented," Judge Thornwald announced, "I'm prepared to rule on this matter after final statements. Mr. Reeves, Mr. Musk, please prepare to deliver your closing arguments." As Reeves shuffled his papers nervously, Musk sat calmly, his notes organized neatly before him. The outcome was no longer in doubt. He had won. "Mr. Reeves, your closing statement," Judge Thornwald directed. Reeves stood, his earlier confidence gone. "Your Honor, while the evidence presented by Mr. Musk is concerning, we maintain that Magnatech developed its technology through legitimate means. Ms. Nayer's testimony should be viewed with skepticism, given her departure from the company under difficult circumstances." He continued for several more minutes, his arguments weak and unconvincing even to his own ears. Hammond sat with his head down, no longer the proud CEO who had strode into court days earlier. "Thank you, Mr. Reeves," Judge Thornwald said when he finished. "Mr. Musk?" Musk approached the bench. Unlike his fumbling first appearance, he now stood tall, his voice clear and measured. "Your Honor, the evidence speaks for itself. Magnatech's CEO visited my facility, secretly photographed proprietary technology, and directed his team to copy it. Their own documents and witnesses confirm this. Justice requires not just invalidating their fraudulent patent, but implementing the 5-year development ban to ensure there are meaningful consequences for corporate espionage. Short, simple, and devastating." Musk returned to his seat as murmurs spread through the courtroom. Judge Thornwald nodded. "I'll deliver my ruling now." The courtroom fell silent. Everyone knew this case had implications far beyond these two companies. It would set precedent for how corporate espionage cases were handled throughout the tech industry. "This court has carefully considered all evidence presented," Judge Thornwald began. "The testimony of Priya Nair, corroborated by electronic communications and Mr. Hammond's own notes, establishes clear evidence of corporate espionage." Hammond closed his eyes in defeat. Therefore, Magnatech's patent number 10,872,651 is hereby invalidated. She paused, then continued. "Furthermore, pursuant to Section 47B of the Technological Innovation Protection Act, Magnatech Industries is prohibited from developing or marketing similar energy storage technology for a period of 5 years from today." Gasps echoed around the courtroom. She wasn't just ruling in Musk's favor, she was granting his full requested remedy. Additionally, Magnatech shall pay damages of $20 million to Mr. Musk's company for attempted patent infringement, plus all legal costs associated with this case. She looked directly at Hammond. "This court also refers this matter to the U.S. Attorney's Office for review of potential criminal charges related to industrial espionage and perjury." Hammond's face went pale. Reeves placed a steadying hand on his client's arm. "Before we conclude," Judge Thornwald added, "I wish to address something." She removed her glasses, looking directly at the gallery filled with reporters. "When this trial began, I made assumptions about Mr. Musk representing himself. I doubted his abilities, and even, I regret to say, made comments that were unprofessional." Murmurs spread through the courtroom at this unusual admission. "The court stands corrected," she stated formally. "Mr. Musk has demonstrated that innovative, Thinking applies to legal strategy as well as technology. His preparation and presentation of this case were exemplary. Musk nodded in acknowledgement of her words. Court is adjourned. Judge Thornwald banged her gavel for the final time. The courtroom erupted in excited conversation. Reporters rushed for the doors, eager to file their stories. Hammond and Reeves huddled with their team, faces grim. Layla hurried to Musk's side. "We did it!" she exclaimed, eyes shining. "You were amazing!" "We were amazing," Musk corrected her. "Your technical expertise was crucial." As they gathered their materials, Judge Thornwald approached. "Mr. Musk, a word?" Layla excused herself, leaving them alone. "Remarkable case," the judge said. "I've never seen anything quite like it." "Thank you, Your Honor. May I ask a question? That first day, was it all an act?" Musk smiled slightly. "Not entirely. I was nervous, but yes, appearing unprepared was strategic." Judge Thornwald shook her head in amazement. "Brilliantly executed." She hesitated, then added, "My son found a new job, by the way. He's doing well now." "I'm glad to hear it," Musk replied sincerely. "Well," she said, extending her hand, "congratulations on your victory." As they shook hands, something passed between them, a mutual respect that hadn't existed days earlier. Outside the courthouse, reporters surrounded Musk. "Mr. Musk, how does it feel to win? Was your strategy planned from the beginning? Will you pursue criminal charges against Hammond?" Musk raised his hands for quiet. "I came here seeking justice, not revenge. The ruling speaks for itself. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have work to do." He made his way through the crowd to where Layla waited with their car. As they drove away, from the courthouse, Layla couldn't contain her curiosity. "So, what happens now?" she asked. Musk looked out the window, already thinking ahead. "Now we get back to what matters, building things that change the world." But even as he said it, he knew this case had changed something important. Not just for his company, but for the entire tech industry. The next time a company considered stealing someone else's innovation, they would remember what happened to Magnatech. And perhaps, just perhaps, they would think twice. 2 months later, a sleek black car pulled up to the security gate at Musk Innovation's headquarters. Judge Beatrice Thornwald showed her ID to the guard, who checked his list and waved her through. She had retired from the bench 1 month after the Magnatech case, surprising many in the legal community. 30 years was enough, she had told reporters. Time for new challenges. In the lobby, Layla Chen greeted her with a smile. "Judge Thornwald, it's good to see you again." "Please, call me Beatrice," the former judge replied, returning the smile. "I'm not on the bench anymore. Elon is waiting for you in the lab," Layla said, leading the way. "He's excited about the tour." They walked through bright corridors where engineers and scientists worked on projects that would shape the future. Beatrice noticed the energy in the air, a sense of purpose and innovation that reminded her of her own youth. Musk met them at the entrance to the main laboratory, dressed in his usual simple attire. "Judge Thornwald, welcome to our facility." "Thank you for inviting me," she replied. "And please, it's Beatrice now." Musk nodded. "Beatrice, then. Ready to see what we're working on?" For the next hour, he guided her through various sections of the lab. He explained their latest advances in energy storage, now protected from Magnatech's interference, and several other projects that left her amazed. "This is incredible," she said, as they paused by a window overlooking the testing grounds. "So, different from the world of law. Is that why you retired?" Musk asked. Looking for something different? Partly, she admitted. 30 years of other people's problems takes a toll. I was ready for a change. They continued to a quieter section of the building, entering a small conference room with a view of the mountains. Coffee waited for them on the table. I have a confession to make, Musk said as they sat down. There's a reason I invited you here today. I suspected as much, Beatrice replied, sipping her coffee. What is it? Musk studied her for a moment. During the trial, did you ever wonder why I chose to represent myself? It wasn't just strategy. I wanted to face you directly. Beatrice frowned. Face me? Why? Because I knew who you were, Musk said simply. Not just as a judge, but as an engineer. She stared at him, coffee forgotten. What do you mean? Before your law career, you were Beatrice Thornwald of MIT, who created a revolutionary battery design in the 1980s. Beatrice set down her cup, her hand trembling slightly. How did you know that? It was so long ago. I make it my business to know the history of my field, Musk explained. Your design was ahead of its time. A company called Vertex Tech stole it from you, as I recall. Yes, she said quietly. They did. I was young, naive. I showed them my prototype, thinking they would help develop it. Instead, they claimed it as their own. Which is why you went to law school, Musk added, to make sure it wouldn't happen to others. Beatrice nodded, surprised by how well he understood her story. I couldn't afford to fight them in court. Back then, there were no laws like Section 47B to protect individual inventors. Did you know you were assigned to my case because of your technical background? Musk asked. Of course. The court often matches judges with relevant expertise to cases. What you didn't know, Musk continued, is that I discovered this connection early on. I researched your background thoroughly once I knew you'd be presiding. Understanding dawned in Beatrice's eyes. You designed your entire legal strategy to appeal to both your technical understanding and your personal history, Musk confirmed. I knew you'd recognize what Hammond had done because it happened to you. So, all that fumbling on the first day, she began, was to make everyone underestimate me, Musk confirmed with a smile, including you. To his surprise, Beatrice laughed. I should be offended that you manipulated the court this way. I prefer to think of it as understanding my audience, Musk replied. The evidence was real. The law was real. I just presented it in a way I knew would resonate with you. Brilliant, she acknowledged. Absolutely brilliant. They sat in silence for a moment, two minds who had found unexpected common ground. So, Beatrice finally asked, why am I really here today? Surely not just for a tour and a revelation. No, Musk agreed. I have a proposition for you. He opened a folder on the table and slid it toward her. Inside was a contract. I need someone who understands both technology and law to head our legal department, he explained. Someone who can protect our innovations while helping us navigate complex regulatory issues. Beatrice raised an eyebrow. You want to hire me? I want to partner with you, Musk corrected. Your experience, both as an engineer who was wronged and as a judge who protected innovation, makes you uniquely qualified. I haven't practiced law in 30 years, she pointed out. You don't need to. You'll have a team of attorneys under you. What I need is your judgment and understanding of both worlds. Beatrice thumbed through the contract, considering the offer. It would be quite a change. Change drives innovation, Musk replied. And I suspect you didn't retire just to play golf. She laughed again. You have me there. Standing up, Beatrice walked to the window, looking out at the mountains. For decades, she had enforced the law from the bench. Now she had a chance to protect innovation from within, to help create rather than just judge. She turned back to Musk. Before I decide, I have one question. Was any of this your strategy in court? This job offer? About revenge? Because my son lost his position when you acquired solar tech? No, Musk answered honestly. That was a business decision. Nothing personal. This is also a business decision. I believe you're the right person for this role. Satisfied with his answer, Beatrice made her decision. She removed her judicial robe, which she had brought with her in a garment bag, and draped it over the chair, symbolically leaving her old role behind. Sometimes, she said, echoing Musk's earlier words to Layla, you have to do things yourself. Musk stood and extended his hand. Welcome to the team, Beatrice. As they shook hands, both knew this was the beginning of something significant. Two brilliant minds who had first met as adversaries, now united in a common purpose. And somewhere across town, in a nearly empty office, Victor Hammond packed the last of his belongings. Magnatech's board had forced him to resign. The 5-year ban had devastated their energy division, and criminal charges were still pending. He had thought himself clever, stealing ideas instead of creating them. Now he understood what Elon Musk had known all along. True innovation cannot be stolen. It must be earned. Thanks for watching. Judge laughs at Elon Musk in court, then gets stunned by his legal genius. I hope you enjoyed this story of unexpected courtroom brilliance. Where are you tuning in from today? Drop your location in the comments below. If this story brightened your day, please hit that like button to help spread some kindness to others who might enjoy it too. And if you want more engaging stories like this one, click on the video appearing on your screen right now. Until next time.